Hi everyone, this is Raven and Campbell from Boozicals, and we'd
Hello.
like to talk to you today about a nonprofit music education group that we are partnering with.
Yep, we'd like to talk to you about education through music. They partner with under-resourced schools to provide music as a core subject for all children. And they utilize music education as a catalyst to improve academic achievement, motivation for school, and self-confidence.
Exactly, so they work with 52 different partner schools throughout New York City, and they work with them to institute sustainable music education programs by hiring qualified teachers, matching them with the school, and really equipping the teachers with the tools to succeed and be able to provide quality music education to all of the students attending that institution. So we think, from this podcast, we think it's incredibly important to provide music education to all children, that everyone should have access to it to help, really instill those lifelong passions that have been so influential for Campbell and I. So we believe that supporting this organization is the way you can support our podcast.
Yep, and you can do so by going to p2p.onecause.com/boozicals. Again, that's letter P, number 2, letter P, onecause.com/boozicals. And yeah, you can really help these kids if that's what you're into.
Support the youths.
Okay. Shut up. That's don't patronize me. Okay.
I don't need you.
Enjoy the episode. I'm done with this.
How do you do, Campbell?
Hey Raven, what's up?
I missed you.
I miss you too. It's been a while since we've recorded.
Indeed.
First recording session of 2022.
Crazy.
Woo!
I don't like it. Do not care for it. Nope. No. I want to go back. Well, I don't know if I want to go back, lads.
That's extreme. No. New year, new me. So what music have you been listening to? I'm just going to move on.
So I've been listening to a lot of African music lately.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, I just like African pop and stuff like that. Like, I just think it's really cool. Like, I got into soca a while back, which is like Soul of Calypso, which is popular in like Caribbean dancehall, like basically Caribbean dancehall music. But I don't know, I think it's really cool to see the influence of other Black music on like African American music and like our hip hop and like our pop and stuff and R&B. So I started listening to a couple of African artists. So Ladipo, Buju, Burna Boy, like all of them. Like, I don't know, I really like just a lot of their art. But yeah, what about you?
I've been listening to so much Doechii, it's not even funny. And that's Doechii with 2 eyes. I just can't stop. Yeah, that's some pretty solid music we've been listening to. Go us. I like that. I like that for us.
Love that for us. Okay. Well, I guess I picked the musical for this week. So, I don't know why this episode.
Blah, blah, blah. Hey, Raven, what musical did you choose for us this week? We haven't had any alcohol yet, listeners. At least I haven't.
This is just us getting used to recording again.
We're just raw dogging it here.
So this episode, we're going to be talking about The Greatest Showman, which is the 2017 musical film starring Hugh Jackman. Zac Efron, Keila Settle, Zendaya. Is it Zendaya or Zendaya? I've never known. Zendaya. Okay.
I could be wrong. Usually.
And Michelle Williams. So this movie, I have a lot of mixed feelings about, and I channeled that into my creation of the cocktail. So I'm going to describe the cocktail. I have not decided on a name for it yet. So Campbell is going to be helping with that. So the cocktail is a layered drink. It has a blue and a red layer. The blue layer is the top layer, so it's blue curacao and vodka equal parts. The red layer is Grenadine, Campari, and strawberry liqueur. And then there's also a half ounce of honey simple syrup that is added. And when I made my honey simple syrup, I also used brown sugar instead of regular granulated sugar. Just I like the
you
flavor.
Added sugar? I just used the sugar that was already in the honey.
Oh no, I still used a little bit. I used like a quarter cup
Gotcha.
of
That sounds
brown sugar
so
and
good,
then
and
honey.
I'm mad I didn't do that.
You should be.
Although I haven't even tasted this yet.
But yeah,
I've just been smelling it.
So, yeah, this drink is a combination of sweet and bitter, intentionally so, because we're going to talk about it, but I know how I feel about this movie, but I have a lot of...
You don't like it. Just say it.
Okay, but I have a lot of very positive feelings about it and very negative feelings about it, and it really bothers me that I can, that they both coexist in the same movie, because there's so many things that they did amazingly right and so many things that they did wrong, and it just makes me so sad.
So wrong.
So wrong. Anyway,
so let's take a sip of our drink, and then we'll figure out a name.
Cheers.
Cheers. I gotta be honest, Raven. I don't know how I feel about this drink.
Just like, I don't know how I feel about this movie.
It's not bad.
It's not my favorite.
Is this your way of covering up you half-assed the drink this week?
No, okay, so I was going to try to do something, fancy, but that was, this drink, or this movie doesn't deserve that. But then...
I feel that. It does not deserve Dreamgirl's effort that you put in.
No, although it does have the same color, just without the sparkle, without the glitter. I wanted there to be bitterness, because I feel bitterness.
Here's a sweet drink with a weird aftertaste, with a bitter aftertaste, is what you have presented me. So, I don't know how I feel about this. We'll see after my fourth one, but it's a very specific taste that I can't put my finger on. Like a melted snow cone.
I see that.
Okay, so there's 4 names I talked about with my boyfriend. One of them, I don't know, it's kind of worried, but I think it actually starting to fit this drink more. But I'll start from the top. We can do Clown Car.
I like that.
We can do The Juggler.
Interesting.
We can do... Oh, he just texted me another one. Boop, 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 boop. The High Dive.
I think,
And I have one more.
Oh, what's the last one?
Balancing Act.
That, I feel like, is more in the vein of...
I think so, too. Is it the best name? It's, kind of like a mouthful. Balancing Act.
True. I also...
But I think it fits really well.
I like the Balancing Act.
The Balancing Act. I feel like we're in a weird mood.
I feel like we are in a weird mood. And I feel like it's because you didn't like my drink.
I feel like you don't like your drink. You say your drink's fine.
No, I actually like the taste of it.
Why is it so? I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting. And maybe I was expecting more strawberry?
Do you want more strawberry?
I don't know. I don't know what I want, Raven.
I don't know what you want either.
I wanna talk about a different musical.
Well, we have to talk about this one. So, Greatest Showman.
All right. Do you got some history for us?
A little bit, yes. So the movie itself was released in 2017, and it's loosely based on the concept of P.T. Barnum as a person and the circuses that he built. So he built
American Museum.
Yeah, Barnum's American Museum and Barnum and Bailey Circus.
Which, fun fact, the first year I was in county band while playing the bassoon, it was held at my high school, and just briefly how county and district band worked in Virginia, especially District 1 was the district I was in the central Henrico Richmond area. You try out for district band and you have a prepared piece. They'll tell you to play 2 random scales and your chromatic scale to blind judges. They score you and then you get ranked There's 2 bands for district band for high schools. There's like the upper band and the lower band. It was like, I have been playing bassoon for maybe a month or 2. And I got in because there weren't a lot of bassoons in the district. I think there was only like 6 or 7 of us. And then the best from the county, from those people that audition, do county band. And how the actual process works is that you show up one afternoon to whatever hosting school. There's a guest conductor. You get a full band. You get a folder full of maybe like 8 songs. You sight read everything. The conductor picks which he wants to do a concert. You play all the next day, like school day. And then that Saturday, so Thursday night, all of Friday, Saturday, you put on a concert. And it was the most fun thing. My most fun experiences in high school were district and county band. And my first county band, the march we do, because you usually do one march, was Barnum and Bailey Circus.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was really fun and really fast. You know a good cut time march, how it goes? Especially the good trio section.
Orchestras don't play marches very often.
Well, John Philip Sousa was a violinist, so I don't know what to tell you.
Anyway, I remember doing like district and all city orchestra.
Circus.
Yeah, so P.T. Barnum, he lived in the 1800s, like 1810 to 1891. He did a lot of different, he had a lot of different like types of businesses, and like actually worked a lot in politics as well. But he always referred to himself as a showman, and that's like what he considered to be like his major business or whatever. But yeah, so he became a small business owner like in his like earlier like 20s, and he moved to New York City, and basically that was when he started like working in entertainment and started like his original like variety troupe, which was Barnum's like Grand Scientific and Musical Theater. And so he like purchased this museum, which he ended up renaming after himself, and that's where he would like show all of his like different acts, and a lot of which were hoaxes, or at the very least were embellished and stuff like that. And like, as they refer to them, quote unquote, human curiosities, which is basically just a dog whistle for people being exploited.
Don't say that about characters like Dog Boy.
Oh my gosh.
I have a lot of thoughts about Dog Boy.
Yeah, but he was also really big into politics, so he actually served as the mayor of Bridgeport, Connecticut, as well as a member of the Connecticut House of Representatives. He was apparently significantly in favor of the 13th Amendment and abolishing slavery, although he did own slaves previously. And one of his earlier acts was actually a slave woman. And here's the thing that's weird about that, because they said...
Besides everything?
I forgot where I was reading it, but there is something that was reading like, oh, slavery was already outlawed in New York, so technically she couldn't be a slave, which is like, okay, cool, then she can just be a free person who is in your employ. But no, because he instead used a loophole that allowed him to like lease her for a year for $1,000. And it's just
that's
like,
a lot of money
in the 1800s, right? And it's just like, but you're in favor of abolishing slavery, and slavery is already outlawed in the state where you're doing business. So why does she need to be a slave at all?
Yeah, that's like if someone said like today, I don't believe we should have slaves, and then lease a grown person out. Like, yeah, it's like it just happened after the fact. You're like late to the party.
Yeah.
That's
But yeah, so a lot of the stuff that they showed in the movie was based on a lot of his actual acts.
Yeah.
So one of his famous ones was Tom Thumb, or General Tom Thumb, who was a little person, I guess is I don't know the term that they would prefer to be referred to by.
You know what, Raven? Let us take the time, put in the energy, and look it up.
Good idea, Campbell.
Appropriate terms include little person, person of short stature, dwarf, or LP.
Okay.
Though it is most respectful to refer to someone just by name. I like this source. Respectability.org. They can't lead me astray. And then they just have the F slur next.
But yeah, so it was an individual named Charles Stratton. And actually at the time that P.T. Barnum started employing him, he was 4 years old, but he stated that he was 11. And he basically coached him on how to imitate, like famous people from like Hercules to Napoleon, like all these like famous figures throughout history. And he was apparently like drinking wine and like smoking cigars by like age 7.
It's like that bit from Scrubs.
For like the public's amusement specifically. Because it's like, oh, here's this like, yeah.
I mean, what's funnier than a drunk child?
Obviously.
Or when a child cusses, it's so funny. Son of a bitch.
There's only one thing worse than a rapist. A child.
A child. No. But that's kind of like that one scene in Scrubs when the janitor is working in the coffee shop because they have better benefits, like, you know.
Yeah.
Or, you know, collective bargaining, organizing against Bob Kelso. And then he was like, he was like, Smokachino? Smokachino for Kyle. And he puts like a cigarette in like a coffee and gives it to this child, Kyle. And then he takes it and he turns Dr. Kelso is like, that's as big as he's going to get. And Bob Kelso's face is like how Elliot's face is constantly. Just like,
what?
So that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Wild. Fun fact, though, a lot of the costumes that were used in this musical were came from Barnum Circus and like.
Oh, that's really cool.
That group.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, P.T. Barnum, Greatest Showman.
I'm glad I didn't like his like character in the movie because I was like, he's not great.
But yeah, I guess we can go ahead and get into it because let's talk about this.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
So we start off in a song, "The Greatest Show."
Here's my problem. Right off the bat, the background music is too loud. I want to hear Hugh Jackman singing.
Fair, and I think
I feel like it's very
they're going
muted.
for this. They're going for this effect of like the big brassy like intro to like grab your attention. Like that's great, but you are drowning out the vocals as well.
I feel like their effect is let's make a musical of pop songs.
Okay, and this is my issue with this musical.
It's like I was like, oh,
the soundtrack I think is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
However, the movie feels like, hey, we have these 9 music videos. How can we connect this into some semblance of a story that we can tell
shout out
and film?
From Justin and Kelly.
Like it doesn't feel like these form a cohesive story. And I remember I first listened to the soundtrack before I ever watched the movie, and a lot of the songs in the soundtrack I thought had a completely different meaning, which is like it's going to happen like when you don't actually know the story that's being told. But like there were songs that I thought had a completely opposite even context to what was going on in the movie, like in terms of character relationships and stuff like that, because it feels like the songs existed and then they were like, cool, let's put these in a movie.
Which is funny you say that because listeners, this is my first time watching this movie. However, when it got to certain songs, I was like, oh, I've heard this song before, like on the radio. I did not know this was a musical song.
Rewrite the Stars plays in shopping stores.
Like, it feels like this musical is the intended audience is people that don't like musicals, which is fine.
Yes.
I'm not that audience. I love musicals. I was expecting some marches, some like really campy circus music. I was expecting the opera singer to sing an opera song.
Uncanny, right?
And I was disappointed when it didn't happen. Even though the singer, I mean, freaking went on tour with Andrea Bocelli.
Mm-hmm. She's an incredibly talented singer, which is why they got her to do that part. But yeah, so Greatest Show. Here's my thing.
Opening credits. Silent film kind of style. Dig that. Great.
I do really like the rhythm of the song. Like I think like the staccato beats, especially in time with like the hoof beats of the horses.
It's a very accented song, which makes sense for what the song's about.
Yeah, and it gives it a sort of like driving rhythm that I think, again, like all of these songs feel like pop songs, so it makes it very easy to like. This is the type of song that you like not bump, but like this type of song that you like blast, I guess, in your car. You can just like scream, sing with your friends. I don't know, like I like that in a sense. It definitely gives it like the vibe again, like the Greatest Show, like the big spectacle and stuff that it's going for. I just really feel like the soundtrack carries the movie.
Oh yeah, for sure,
and that bothers me.
Yeah, and my first thoughts of this song, I was like, wait a second, is this the opening act? Everyone's here. Like, what do you, like, you need to build to something. I was very confused. And it was just like, oh no, the, like, when you use CGI.
Are you asking me?
No. When you use CGI, I feel like you either go all the way or, like, very little. They're in this weird in-between that I was just like, okay, there's a person animals who is now Gumby, who is now not Gumby.
See, okay.
And I'm fine with the CGI animals, though, because, fun fact, animals shouldn't be in circuses.
Yeah, but okay, but
don't ride elephants.
This actually, okay, so 2 points that you made. One, so the way it looks, I agree in a sense with like the CGI of like some of the characters at times, but I also like the fact that they kind of stylize, like it's very stylized. I feel like every scene, which I think is good in a sense that like especially with live action movies, it's a little harder to transition between like regular normal talking acting and then suddenly singing, unless it's a film like Sweeney Todd where people are basically always singing. So no, I like the fact that the scenes are all stylized. I think it makes that way, it merges that reality and fantasy a little better. But my thing with the CGI animals, it's like on the one hand, I'm obviously really glad that they didn't use real animals for this. But also I think that gets at to like what my issue with this movie is that it talks a lot of the talk of like accepting everyone and being kind and like all this other stuff and like, oh, like go to the place like you can find your family and like be accepted for who you are and blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't actually, and not saying that every single film has to do this, but it doesn't actually address any of the actual issues that those people or that situation faced or caused. Like, yeah, we're using CGI animals in this film because the actual treatment of animals during this time and in industries like this was incredibly cruel and inhumane. But, like, we're not going to talk about that at all. We're just going to pretend it doesn't exist. And I feel like that's a lot of this movie where like they come right up to talking about an actual social issue and then just spray paint over it and walk away.
Yeah, and then they just get drunk at a bar.
Yeah, but like don't actually resolve any of the interpersonal conflict that would exist.
The bad people got arrested. Everything's solved because they were the only people that allowed this to happen.
And I think it feels really weird, especially because this is a relatively modern-ish movie. It came out in 2017, so it's still been a few years since then. But it's definitely more on the modern side. Yes. And it has such a it does have an incredibly diverse cast. And like there is a lot of really good messaging in the movie, but the actual story doesn't earn any of that. Like all of the emotional moments, all of the like character lessons you're supposed to get out of the
superficial
music don't come across through the story. Like, the story,
They're just superficial.
Hugh Jackman is fantastically talented. I'm so glad that he got the starring role. But this is still just a story about a random white dude. Like, it just, like, it's your typical,
who, like, honestly just sucks.
Who honestly kind of sucked. Like, it was,
and there's no consequences.
It's like your standard rags to riches, like, bootstrap story, but like, and it doesn't actually dive into any sort of depth, but like the music does. Like, the music is incredibly emotional and moving and like tells so much of the characters that are singing it, but the story doesn't, and that, I don't know, just really bothers me, especially because like music itself has such a huge capacity to tell a story, and it just really feels like there wasn't a lot of attempt to bridge things.
This movie would not have changed if the songs were taken out of it. And that's a problem with a musical.
That is a problem with a musical. and the fact that I literally prefer listening to the soundtrack by itself to watching the movie. It's just, anyway.
I need another drink. Cheers.
Cheers. Okay, so we see that that was basically a fantasy in his head, like that was a daydream. So we get to young Phineas, who's with his father, and he was seeing like that suit, the iconic P.T. Barnum suit, I guess, whatever, through a window. And we find out that they're working for this family. I think they're called like the Hallets.
Something like that, with Ellis Rubin played by young Barnum played by Ellis Rubin, but his singing voice is Ziv Zafman, and then Mr. Barnum, Philo Barnum, played by Will Swenson, who's also been in a million things like Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. He directed, acted, and produced in Sons of Provo, but in the 2014 version of Les Mis, he played Javert.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So we see that basically they're like extremely poor. His father's a tailor, so he's working for this wealthy family, which is how Phineas gets introduced to Charity, who like was his actual wife.
Yes, young Charity played by Skylar Dunn.
Does she have the same singing voice?
Yes.
Okay. I really like her singing voice.
I do too.
Yeah.
I think something I really appreciate.
The song A Million Dreams.
Yeah, the children in this do a very good job.
I agree. And it gives me a real, during A Million Dreams, which is basically like, it starts off as Phineas singing
I like the piano. It's nice.
Oh, agreed. I think the piano has a lot of like the best like themes, I guess, and like melodies throughout the movie. Yeah. But yeah, so A Million Dreams, so this is basically Phineas singing about the world he wants to create for himself. Like he keeps saying like the world we're gonna make. And then towards the end, like Charity also comes in and is singing like with him. And when they're together as children, like, and going into, like, the house and everything, I get a real, like, Bridge to Terabithia vibe. Like, it just...
I did, too. I saw that. I saw The Secret Garden. I got...
Oh, Secret Garden.
Yeah. But at first, when I was so confused. The pacing in this movie is wild.
Oh, the pacing is so weird. It's so weird.
Especially in this particular song. I was like, oh, they're walking. I was like, it looks kind of spooky. And they see the house. I was just like, does this turn into a horror movie? Like, what's happening?
It looks like murdered?
That kind of like specific kind of dilapidated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That isn't like whimsical.
It's terrifying.
It's more like gory. A gory kind of dilapidated.
Yeah,
but yeah, I do like this song.
Yeah.
I didn't like the first song. It was too loud. It was too loud.
I'm not a huge fan of... I mean, I don't dislike the song. I don't think there's any song on the soundtrack that I dislike.
Appreciate the simplicity of it.
Yes, I guess that's it. It doesn't captivate me the way a lot of the other songs do, but like, I think it's a good song. This movie does not captivate me at all.
There's parts of it I was just like, oh yeah, I forgot they existed. And I was like, and I think they were a major plot point, so...
Yeah, so Phineas and Charity are basically like this whole story is like the American dream, basically, where Phineas is like a literal rags to riches story.
Yeah.
And then, granted, with crime. And then Phineas and Charity are like this American dream relationship goals type setup.
Yeah. It's very... And, like, this song... I forgot. I, like, heard the song before. I was like, wait, doesn't Pink sing this song? I thought it was a Pink song. Because she sings the reimagined version of A Million Dreams.
Yeah, and the like updated or like
Yeah.
the mixtape sort of version. Yeah.
Yeah. Kelly Clarkson's so good in it.
I heard like I was looking at a lot of the artists that they got for that. So that was the where is that? I saw it down. Yeah. So, the reimagined version had like James Arthur, Anne Marie. I love Anne Marie. Oh my gosh, her voice. Oh my god,
yeah, absolutely.
Sarah Bareilles, who we've talked about at length on this podcast,
and we
Kelly
will
Clarkson,
again
Kesha,
during
Panic
this.
at the Disco, Jess Glynn, Ty Dolla $ign, Missy Elliott, among others.
I like them. I like them a lot. Then we see like eventually like I heard like Dad isn't approving of like what she's being like, so sending her off to finishing school.
Well, he doesn't approve her talking to a poor person.
Yeah, I mean, valid. But she has a solid spit take. Comedies for her, baby.
Amazing.
And they like you see like they like write to each other, and it's like very sweet.
He is very
young kind of love kind of thing. And then like I see his like dad sick. All of a sudden I was like, what, does his dad die or something? Next beat funeral. It's just like they don't have time.
Well, you know how movie. Disney loves to age children by song.
That's true, but like
this,
I feel like it's more of a process. It's like, starting to get sick. Let's like maybe more workload.
Not the first time Disney has full on killed off parents in the middle of a song.
Oh no, and they shouldn't stop.
Okay. So his dad dies, and yeah, you're correct, Campbell. There's no progression. He just is dead suddenly. And so so we see that grave. he's now like really fighting for survival. We see him like stealing bread, and then getting it ripped away from him. And then we see, so this is the thing that bothers me. This movie can't decide whether P.T. Barnum, I guess Phineas, for the sake of the character in the movie rather than the real person, this movie can't decide whether he's this amazing, hard, like down on his luck, just like American dream caricature who just wants to help people and make people happy, or a malicious businessman who's exploiting people for profit at the sake of, basic human decency. It's like...
Because it's like, okay, so this may be a weird analogy, but like, or like you grew up or like were around people, like in college.
Yeah.
And you could like very clearly like know like who like came from money, which is like people have different circumstances. It is what it is. But like say you would like went out to a bunch of bars, just like, oh, they'll like cover like tab or something, or you do. When people that like a lot of people that do like come from like money and stuff like that, the very next day it was like, oh, can you Venmo me $6.72, as opposed to people who like didn't really come from money and they're just like, oh, I got it, it's like the money's gone, it's fine,
it's $5, like it's
it's I mean it happened, it's fine, I got this one. I feel like he's on the wrong side of that,
yeah, checks out.
Yeah. Sorry, listeners, if this sounds disjointed. Raven had to take a phone call so she could rigidly schedule sex.
That's basically what happened.
Okay, cool. Keep that in future, Raven. So and then he's like offered an apple from like an outcast, and he's offered kindness, and that's like what motivates him. He's like, I'm gonna do something about my situation.
Yeah, and the thing that bothers me is that
one of the many.
There's there's like zero character development of any character in this movie, which I think is a big part of my problem with it.
I think Letty has character development. And I think Philip does too.
Letty, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. They do have some minor character development.
Minor. I mean, comparatively, they have character development.
But our main character, Phineas, has, like, none, which we'll talk about when we get there. But the thing that bothers me is that, like, if you are trying to say, like, Phineas is, like, this good person who's doing all of this to, like, help these people, like, this could be a character driving moment of, like, oh, like, in your moment of, like, most, like, deepest desperation, like, most need, these people reached out and, like, helped you. And so, like, you're doing this, like, yes, obviously to support your family, but, like, also for them. And, like, that could be a really cool, like,
people
storytelling device.
Who are, like, othered.
Yes.
Are still offering me kindness where other people wouldn't. I want to extend the same.
Yes, but he doesn't. And, like, he's not... I don't know, like, they at the same time, like, try not to paint him as, like, exploitative and, like, abusive, but they also don't shy away from the fact that he's actively othering and marginalizing these people that work for him as well. Like, it's... Yeah. I don't know, it feels like they're trying to walk this weird line that it's just, like, I don't know what line you think you're walking or what message you're trying to send, but, like, you're not... It's not a good one.
Nope.
Yeah.
So he starts working for the railroad company. And then we get to future. Hell yeah, Hugh Jackman. He's here. So Hugh Jackman plays Phineas T. Barnum. Adult.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, so he's, like, at work, and we see that basically, like, the entire company goes bankrupt because some pirates sank their, like, ships or, like, their fleet or whatever. Which I guess he, like,
well,
steals...
that's later. That's after they get married.
Oh, you're right. I forgot about this first bit when he's actually shown.
And he's like, he goes to Charity's, like, parents' house. And, like, for those who don't know who Hugh Jackman is, but, like, you know, some other things we've done. I just listened to our Les Mis episode, so that's fun. So, Les Mis. But he also won a Tony from The Boy from Oz. And he's also, like, hosted the Tony Award, like, 4 different times.
Yeah, he just wants to sing and dance. We've talked about this.
He just wants to sing and dance. He actually, like, turned down the role during this time. Turned down like a role as, like, James Bond, or, like, to be a potential James Bond, because he was like that's
for the best
because he didn't want people to, like, put him in a category as this, like, action star. And instead, he wanted to sing and dance in The Greatest Showman.
Yeah. Which, like, I will say, like, I think the performances in this movie are very good.
The performances are great. I think what I have a problem with is, like, the editing and the mixing.
Interesting.
And, like, sometimes the style. But, like, the style of the song happening regardless. How they performed it was good. Because there was incredible singers in this.
Yeah.
And musicians and, you know, actors and whatever.
But yeah, so he and Charity get married.
Adult Charity, played by Michelle Williams, who's also, I mean, she was the cool girl in Dawson's Creek, Brokeback Mountain, in My Week with Marilyn. She was Marilyn Monroe.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, she was in My Week with Marilyn. She was Marilyn Monroe. She was in Manchester by the Sea. Great.
Yeah, I also really like her voice. Like, I think especially of a lot of the cast members, she has a very distinct voice in this.
Yes.
And I really like the song Tightrope for her.
Yep, I agree. And so she was like, "Screw you, Dad. I'm gonna marry him. He's the love of my life." Mm-hmm. And so they, like, get an apartment together. And they're just, like, working up.
Yeah. And we see that, like, she gets pregnant. They have 2 kids, and, like,
they're straight up dancing in smog, and they're like, how romantic. Do not
also,
dance so close to a ledge.
Falls off the roof.
Off the building, yes.
Bro.
Don't fuck around ledges like that. And then, yeah, she is pregnant. And then we see him at work at like the bank using a fun calculator.
I didn't even realize what that was.
A calculator.
Interesting. An 1800s calculator.
Beep, 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 beep.
Beep, boop, 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 boop. Yeah, and so he goes up to his boss with like, oh, hey boss, I had this like really cool idea.
Played by Bob Robnock.
Yeah, he's like, I have this really cool idea for like this stuff that we could do, and his boss is just like, well, actually you're being fired because the company's going bankrupt.
Get fucked.
Because pirates have sank all our ships. Which is like, that's something that like, I had this weird moment while I was watching the movie where I was like, that's why insurance exists now.
Don't you like love because of pirates? Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Didn't you love though like the background when it like fades to the cubicle? So it's like cubicle v graveyard.
I did not.
That shot. Like, I mean, the office buildings are like right next to a graveyard, and it was supposed to be symbolic or some shit.
I did not make that connection, but that is very notable.
Your dog is yelling at you. Yeah. So bankrupt. They're like, I was like, take everything you can. So he takes like a lot of like documents and things like that from the office. Heads home. Sees the apartment. There's water damage. His family's on the roof. Mom's playing a mean game of cowboys with their daughters.
Yeah.
They have 2 daughters, Caroline and Helen, played by Austin Johnson and Cameron Seeley. Austin Johnson has been Lost Girls, 911, Cameron Seeley. She was in the Jim Gaffigan Show, but she also played Cindy Lou Who in the newest Grinch. So then Phineas tells his wife that he like lost his job. Again, it seems like, but Charity's very supportive. She was like, you know what? I don't care. As long as I'm living my best life. We're together. We're happy. I'm fine.
Yeah.
You'll get back on your feet. It'll all work out. I believe in us because we're working through this together. We're a team. Yeah,
and that's something that is really, I think, is one of the like biggest characterizations that Charity's character has, and I feel like it's really reflected in her music too. Is the idea of like, I just want to be with you and like have a family, and you know, she's very much Eliza from Hamilton, like that same sort of like, hey, like I'm okay, like I understand that you have your dreams and I want to support those, but ultimately I just want us to do this thing together. Like, yeah, like she literally says like, however big, however small, just let me be a part of your dreams. That's all I want. That would be enough. But it's not for him because he's
sucks.
Ambitious.
So it's also like Caroline's birthday, and so her present, he makes her this like wishing machine, and they make wishes. Helen, the younger sister, is like, I wish I could marry Santa Claus, and they're very supportive of that. Weird. It seems like a grooming situation.
Seems really.
And like the age difference is a lot. Like he always knows when you're sleeping, knows when you're awake. Like, it just seems toxic. And also Mrs. Claus exists, so homewrecker.
As a child who like didn't grow up believing in Santa, what is the normal age of like not believing in Santa anymore? Because I feel like she's like 7 or 8.
7 or 8. I feel like
the youngest I would think she is maybe 6.
I think I stopped believing in Santa. Honestly, I think I was kind of late. I think like 1st or 2nd grade.
Right? I don't know. But yeah, so the other, what's the older daughter's name? Caroline. Yes, it's her birthday. So she wishes for a pair of ballet slippers, which they kind of like have a look because they're like, we're poor and you just lost your job. So basically we get into A Million Dreams reprise. And
I think it's reprise. And the children are singing this time, and they're good.
Yes. Oh yeah, their voices are really, really pretty.
And I don't like children singing.
I don't like hordes.
I think
of
it's grating.
I don't like a children's choir, but like just like a kid or two, that's fine.
No, especially like modern like music, like rock songs that starts with children's choir. I'm just like, ugh, get over yourself.
But yeah, so this kind of drives us into like the main the main bit where like now he's like, okay, well I have to figure out a way to like, one, support my family because I just lost my job, but also give my children and myself the dreams that we want to achieve. So he's
and like initially it's motivated by his family, but it soon develops everything's about him. He doesn't give a fuck. He like deludes himself.
We're gonna talk about that at the end too, because I feel like they try to give him a character arc and like lesson with that, but it doesn't hit the way I think they meant it to.
Yeah.
So
he lies to the bank.
Yeah, he lies to the bank and says like, oh, all those ships that are in like the South China Sea that like are kind of like at the bottom of the South China Sea, but we're not going to talk about that. They're mine.
A fleet of trading ships is my collateral.
Yeah. For a $10,000 loan, which is a lot of money now and was even more money back then. And well, I guess it's not a lot of money to start a business now, but
it is
interesting.
Depending on the business,
I guess. Yeah, I mean, he's starting up a museum. I don't know how much money that costs. But yeah, so he uses that to kind of start up his museum, and he takes his family there, and they're just like, oh, you have to sell tickets to this thing, right? And he's like, we're gonna sell so many tickets, and his wife is just like doubtful. So then like he and the kids are going around trying to sell tickets and everything.
He's hired a thief
to watch for the box office. Interesting.
He's not a magician.
I don't think he is though.
No, that was a joke. He can do sleight of hand things because he's a thief. So he's going to be the magician.
That's what I thought.
Mr. O'Malley, played by Eric Anderson.
Yeah. And so then his daughters are like, oh, I think you should have, like, living things instead of just, like, dead and stuffed things.
Which I will then say, these two children are the reason for animal cruelty in circuses. You can blame Caroline and Helen Barnum. You can blame them for Dumbo being separated from his mother.
Oh my gosh.
They are the true villains of this story.
They just wanted some living...
Oh, mermaids and unicorns. Grow up. Grow up.
Although he did have...
They're the reasons he rides an elephant to the ballet.
Yeah, which was weird.
Don't ride elephants. Listeners, don't ride elephants. It's really bad for them.
Yeah. Also, fun fact, so one of his first hoaxes was referred to as a Fiji mermaid. And it was apparently a creature with the body of a monkey and the tail of a fish. And I don't even know how he managed that. But, yeah. Fun fact. So then we get into the scene where he's like recruiting all of these different acts now that are going to come and work for him. And so we get into the song Come Alive.
Yeah, like at this point he's like recruiting different people for his show. He recruits Charles, who's 22 but is 2 feet tall. Mm-hmm. Charles being played by I had it right here, Sam Humphrey, who's also been like Neighbors, this TV show, Star Wars self-tapes, and he plays Charles Stratton. Other people, he's like convincing these people, is like, oh, they're gonna laugh at me, and they're like, they're gonna laugh anyway, you might as well get paid, which is like not nice.
Yeah.
He seems like an unintentional bully.
It's literally saying like, oh yeah, no, people hate you because you look different than them, and I'm not going to, like, that's fine, you just have to live with that, but let me exploit you in the process.
Yeah, we get introduced to the Trapeze siblings. First, Anne Wheeler, played by Zendaya, who's, MJ in the new Spider-Man movies. She's in Euphoria, Dune. Earlier on, Casey Undercover, Shake It Up. I
forgot about Shake It Up.
She is so great. She's one of those, like, celebrities, actors, performers that I don't know if anyone dislikes them, I
mean, I'm sure someone does.
Those aren't real people. And then her brother is played by Yahya Abdul Mateen II, who's been in so many things. He was the main antagonist from Aquaman. He played Manta. He's been in Watchmen, the newest series, which is so good. He was in The Get Down. He freaking played Morpheus in the newest Matrix.
I did not. I haven't seen it. I haven't
seen any of the Matrixes, but like,
I see that for him.
I understand a reference.
Yeah.
Incredible. I wish he had more screen time.
Agreed. I really like that actor. I mean, I think a lot of the this is one of my problems with the movie. Like, a lot of the actors in the crew, cast. Yeah, I guess
cast. What do you mean, I guess?
No, there's a company. A lot of I was referring to them as
it's a movie. It's a cast.
That's fair. But yeah, a lot of the people in the cast, like, you really don't see at all if they're the acts of the show. But they got a lot of like great people for them, and it really confused me that they don't have more screen time. Like, I guess, development. Like, you don't learn anything about their characters really.
Yeah.
Besides the two.
Then we have, the notable act, Dog Boy, just called Dog Boy, played by Luciano Acuna Jr., who also is like a stunt man. Like, he's been an actor in a bunch of things, but he did stunt in the movie Tracers, American Ninja Warrior, and like he is like self-credited. He was in an episode of Silent Library. Also, the really tall gentleman. You don't have to stand on a desk to shake his hand. It's like when he met Charles. Don't kneel down.
You don't need to do that.
You don't need to do this. You're like dehumanizing these people.
Yeah, and it's like,
which is the most consistent thing he does.
Yeah, and I think that's something that bothers me about it, is that, again, the music is, to me, really well done, and the messaging of the songs is really strong for like the message that I feel like the movie is trying to send overall. But the story itself doesn't take any time to pay attention to these characters, about like to develop who they are as people, or like how they exist within this world. Like, it doesn't focus on them at all. And I understand that it's because, like, in theory the story is about him, but like they're basically NPCs in this story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And saw another person that joins that is like a main person, Letty Lutz, the bearded one.
Yes.
Played by Kelly Settle. She for the 2014 Les Mis, she was Ms. T, Ms. Thénardier. How do you say that? I didn't say it right before.
I don't think we've ever said it right.
Yeah. She also originated the role of Becky in Waitress.
Oh, that's cool.
She was on a bunch of national tours, like the national tour put on by the Lincoln Center. I played at the Lincoln Center.
Amazing.
Not to toot my own horn, which I did at the Lincoln Center. She was in South Pacific. I like that one. Good job, Campbell. And it's funny because she always like thought herself more of an R&B singer, like her mom.
Interesting. She has a fantastic voice.
Yeah, she got the Golden Globe for Best Original Song from this movie, like what she sings. Great. She's great. She joins.
Yeah.
Come Alive is a song that also, it just feels, the singing just feels muted to me.
You know what? I can see that because...
What am I, do you know what I'm talking about? Is there a better way to describe it?
I don't know all of the, like, the music, like, sound engineering terms that will relate to it, but, like, I know, like, that opening sort of, like, guitar riff that they're playing, it definitely, like, the sound effect on it is one that's common in, like, rock pop songs, and, like, it definitely gives it that more, like, muted tone. I don't know what it's referred to, but, like, if you hear that, like, opening, I guess, refrain or phrase from the guitar, like, you'll hear it, and yeah, it does give the song this sort of like muted effect, because again, like, all of the song scenes feel like a music video, which is like the scenes themselves are very well produced and they're very well stylized and very well shot.
The choreography's pretty good.
But they just exist inside this movie, and it feels like the movie was literally just made to put them all together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They put Charles on a horse and like riding around. And I was like, does he know how to ride a horse? Are those real guns?
Yeah, that was really concerning.
And then they get attacked by
I guess they could have put blanks in them.
That's true. They got attacked. Yeah. They probably didn't. Got attacked by like drunk protesters. People are like, "Oh no, not in my town." So also, they suck.
Is it just me, or does this whole song, well, one, the whole story, but also like Kamala specifically, kind of give like white savior complex?
Ugh, Raven. that is P.T. Barnum's character in this movie.
Yeah, it's very much giving like Mother of Dragons, like, I'm here to save you and you like were incapable of liberating. Like, there's a difference between, oh, we're not able to liberate ourselves because we were actively suffering from like systems of oppression, and we're not capable of liberating ourselves because we didn't know that we could be liberated. And like the whole, like, oh my god, the whole world hates us, but that doesn't mean we should hate ourselves. And it's just like, yeah, like
the difference between say like Barnum and Philip is that Philip uses his privilege for good and Barnum uses his privilege for evil.
For exploitation.
Yeah.
Like, at no point does he use his wealth and his fame to actually help make things better for these people, other than just physically employing them, which is like a thin line based on the labor laws of the time.
Yeah. And then we get intro. Yeah, so now half-price tickets. Whoever brings a bad review in, smart.
That's just good marketing. That's just good PR.
Got no notes on that one. I guess that is a note, but other than that, no notes on that one. And yeah, it's a fine song. And then we get introduced to Mr. Bennett, James Gordon Bennett, who played by Paul Sparks, who is apparently the only critic in America.
Wait, what? Oh, yeah.
They're just like, oh, did you hear what he said this time? Even when he's like, when they're like traveling the country with like,
yeah, it's still just him
that they like care about. We don't see any other reviews.
Well, okay, so I could actually come with theater. Well, no, theater critics existed, but like theater was changing during this time. Like the concept of theater as we have it today was still developing during. I mean, but like they had Yeah, no, I don't have any words for you. Like there should definitely be other theater critics.
He calls Barnum a purveyor of falsehoods, basically.
Mm-hmm. And apparently coins the term circus.
Also, okay, then we move on to Barnum has a surprise for his family. The old house, Bridge to Terabithia, secret garden type house, exploring children thing, whatever description.
Million dreams.
He bought the house.
Yes.
And to get there, what is his carriage being drawn by?
Zebras.
Bad.
Sorry, zebras.
Bad.
Yeah,
Horses exist.
Okay. And this gets back to the whole, like...
Which, like, they must be making at that point, I was like, you're making so much money off of this. But then we find out they took out a loan to get this house.
Yeah. And I'm debating how, like, SJW I want to go with this, because, like...
Full force, baby.
So here's my thing. When we talk about, like, the cruelty of animals and their treatment in, like, the circus and carnival industry, it's far more than just the physical treatment of the animals themselves. Like, it's far more than just, like, we're torturing this animal to train it, like the dancing bears, like dancing elephants and stuff like that. Like, it's far more than the physical torture that's implemented to get these animals to behave the way we want them to. It's also just like the fact that we have them in this climate. Like, he lives in New York at this time, and granted he's touring the world, but like he's living in an environment in a climate that these animals are not intended for. And specifically, a lot of the animals that were used in like carnivals and circuses were things like tigers, lions, elephants, occasion like monkeys and stuff like that, like a lot of animals that you get from areas that were colonized by European and Western civilizations. So that's why these animals are here in the first place, and why they're considered exotic and an oddity is because they're coming from these places that are being exploited and destroyed by imperialism and colonialism. And so it's just like, this is so the fact that you have zebras,
Raven, this is my jam right now.
like the fact that you just have zebras in New York, in upstate New York, to just pull your carrot, like, it's like, I understand that, and I'm not mad at the movie for this, because the movie, I think, is,
I'm mad at the movie for other reasons.
I'm mad at the movie for other reasons. Like, the movie isn't just doing this to do this. Like, I think the movie is doing this to portray.
It makes sense.
Yeah, like, it makes sense within the context of the movie, but it's just like in terms of the actual historical treatment of these. Yeah, in terms of the actual historical treatment of these animals, like, it honestly offends me to just like see this. But technically, the movie's doing it right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then we see like he gives his daughter ballet slippers. Mm-hmm. And we see like her recital, and like she does like a really good job. And then afterwards, they're like, "Oh, we're so proud of you." They like see other people in the crowd, like a young, what is he? So he's a producer of plays, is what they say.
I believe so. I think he's like a Max Bialystock, but okay. for the ultra rich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Philip.
Because they do say that like everything he puts on, it's like everything he puts on is bad, but people go see it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Philip.
Or I can't tell if it's bad necessarily from a critical standpoint, or if it's just depressing. They make it seem like it's at least just depressing.
Philip Carlyle.
Yes, played by Zac Efron.
This is our 4th Boozicals episode with Zac Efron. He's probably the most common actor.
High School Musical 1, High School Musical 2, and oh my god, it was just in my head.
And I'm Link.
Yeah, Hairspray. For some reason, my mind went to Grease, which I could see him playing Danny. If he had the look that he had for Link, like with the dark hair. Yeah.
I mean, he would do well at it.
Yeah. I actually really like Zac Efron in this role. I don't know why
do too.
I don't know why I said actually like that. Like, I think Zac Efron is a talented individual, and I honestly think he got way more flack than was deserved for Troy Bolton. Similar to how like I think Robert Pattinson got way too much flack for like Edward.
Robin Pattinson's such a good actor, and
he's such a good actor.
Kristen Stewart's such a good actor.
Anyway,
Zac Efron, some other stuff. Charlie St. Cloud. He also voiced Fred in the newest Scooby-Doo movie, Scoob.
Oh, I feel like I heard about that. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. So he plays Philip Carlyle, and basically he's this rich, angsty boy who puts on depressing plays for the ultra rich, and like everyone.
We all know the type.
Everyone agrees that they're bad, but like, I guess they go because he's like rich and well known and blah blah blah, and like it's the theater and people have.
Oh, this is what fancy people do. We go to the theater.
Yeah.
And then we also see Caroline. Caroline's the one that does ballet, right?
Yes.
Being
Helen
bullied.
is the tree.
Helen is the tree. Caroline is being bullied by the other girls in our class. She's like, "Do you smell that? Smells like peanuts." Honestly, not the worst insult.
No, peanuts smell fine, unless you're allergic to them, I guess.
And then her parents, like, hear and get, like, really mad. And he's like, "No, it's like, maybe I can't do this anymore. You can't just fake it here." Damn girl. Hell
Damn.
Yeah. If you didn't hate animals so much, I'd applaud you.
So then I think this is, in the story, it's presented as, like, Phineas's like driving motivator, I guess, to speak to
prove
Philip
the
Carlyle.
rich wrong.
Yeah, to speak to Philip Carlyle and be like, I can be good enough for the ultra rich.
Because like his wife calls him out on it. He's like, no. He's like, no. This isn't about me. Biggest lie in the movie.
It's always about you. All of this is about you. Yeah.
Like to Philip, teach me how to suck up to snobs.
Yeah, like I want you to like partner. So basically, he wants Carlisle to partner with him because he's like, you partnering with me will bring legitimacy to my shows because you already have an in with this class of people that I don't.
What do you think of the phrase "comfort is the enemy of progress"? Because they say it at this point.
They do, and
I have some thoughts.
Like on a philosophical level.
Yeah. I feel like I'm at that level of alcoholness.
On a surface level, I can understand the meaning behind it. Like in the same sense, it's like, I guess the opposite of necessity is the mother of invention, where like basically the idea is like if you I guess in theory like want for nothing, like if all of your needs are met, then you have no need to continue innovating. But I also think the human spirit is more complicated than that. Like I think humans as a species have a natural knack for curiosity and invention and creativity.
Yeah.
And I think to an extent, like even if people's basic needs are met, like we're still going to be doing stuff. Like we're not just going to sit around. Like I don't know. I hate the idea that like humans are lazy by nature and that if you don't force us to work for our own survival that we won't do work at all, because I think that's inherently false.
Oh yeah, that's just capitalistic mindset. I think about this phrase a lot. Something we had a lot of deep talks about when I was staying at you, like I guess a couple years now ago, a year ago now. How like something you strive for is to be content.
Oh yeah.
And
I strive for basic contentment. I don't strive for joy.
Which is like, and I've thought a lot more about it, and I feel like, say like comfort the enemy of progress. Some people want to progress and work to achieve comfort. Mm-hmm. I think the comfort is the enemy of progress is dismissive of people that aren't in comfortable situations. And I think that's kind of like explained with like, you know, where these characters come from and what they're trying to do and their goals and reasons.
Agreed. And I don't know, I think to simply say that everyone deserves luxury and like everyone should have like this level of comfort, I agree, it's like the enemy of progress. It's the idea of like there's always, to me, that's still like within the realm of capitalism, and it's like the master's tools will never destroy the master's house. You know, like you can't beat capitalism by getting rich, because at the end of the day you're still like someone is still being exploited. It's just not you anymore. Yeah, because you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And that's Batman, and I think we've come full circle because we mentioned Batman
earlier. Which means we do have to keep all this in.
We shall see.
We shall. Okay, then we get to the song The Other Side. Okay, this song, I do think it's a good song. It's too modern for me for, like, this setting.
Interesting. This is one of the few songs I feel fits in the movie. We're just on opposite sides of everything today.
Like, I took my glasses off. My glasses. This song, I think one of the more so, feels like a music video.
I think Rewrite the Stars feels more.
Oh, I feel they're pretty close to me.
But they are very similar. This is a very stylized scene.
Like I can hear like of Monsters and Men sing this song, or like
That's fair.
One Republic, or like Mumford and Sons, and
I think
it sounds like in the context of the movie. That, like, if I just was like, oh, I haven't seen The Greatest Showman, this is the first scene I watched, I would think, is this a jukebox musical?
I can see that. I think the reason that I like it, and for me, what grounds it within the movie, it's the bartender, and I really love, and I like this in Come Alive too, even though Come Alive is probably one of my least favorite songs from the overall soundtrack, but...
Same.
I really like when musicals use the sounds of the environment, and I forget the term for it, because there is a term that we talked about in one of the episodes
Stomp-esque?
before. But when a musical
should stop.
uses sounds of the environment to create the music for the song or for the score or whatever. And so like in this scene, I really like the use of the bartender and the sounds like the shots sliding against the bar to accent and stuff like that. But I agree that I can see your point as well.
I think it's a good song.
Yeah. It's a good song. It's a question of whether it fits within the musical. Whether it's needed within the musical.
Also, Philip is so rude to the waitstaff at this bar, this establishment. And could you imagine, like, in, like, a booth in the corner, like, they're not the only ones here.
Weren't there other people?
We didn't see them, but
not
I like to think...
Not like the main song part, but like when they first
I like
came in.
to think that, like, in the corner, some people are just, like, having a beer.
What if that's the Photoshop that we did?
I was thinking about it.
We're just sitting here like...
We're just like...
What's going on over there?
Kind of how we were in La La Land.
Yeah, so...
The barman's choreography is really good, really fun. I enjoyed it a lot. Solid mustache.
I do also really like the chemistry between Hugh Jackman and Zac Efron. Like,
yeah.
I really think, like, the actors themselves did a great job of, like, I guess, relating to each other in these scenes. Like, just, like, the how crisp it all is between the three of them in the scene.
It seems very clear, the sense of camaraderie.
Yes.
In, like, a theatrical setting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And so as we get towards the end of the song after the bridge...
and this song is basically convincing Philip to be a part of...
To be a part of the show, to be a part of, like, the Barnum, I guess, enterprise at this point. And they agree on, like, him taking 10%. And so then they get into this bit where, like, they're singing together. And I do really like a lot of the, like, I guess... lyrical imagery of this song. So like they talk a lot about like a key to a cage. Like, so he refers to Carlisle as being trapped in a cage, basically the cage of elite society, which I think is an interesting way. To talk about that, because like I can see where they're coming from with that. But then we have this developing imagery throughout the song of like building a key to that cage. Like at first it starts, I was like, I can give you the key to free yourself, and then it's like, I don't actually need a key, or like, what makes you think I'm in a cage?
Free your mind and the rest will follow.
Yes. To we can build a key together, and then finally to yes, forget the cage because we know how to make the key, is the last one. So I don't know, I do like the way, I think in the movie in general, the lyrics are very well written for all of the songs. And this is what I mean, where like, I think the songs themselves are very good at expressing what the characters are feeling and what is happening in the moment. It's just that none of those things make sense when lined up together.
No.
Yeah.
So then for 10% of the company, he's in. And then he meets, everyone. And yes, Philip, everyone's in love with Zendaya. Get over yourself.
Yeah, well, first, so like at the end of the song, we see them transition into like being in one of the shows as he's like the other side, like he's going through the curtain or whatever, and he sees Zendaya, and it's just like, so why is he in love with her again? Is it just because she's a beautiful black woman? Because, cool.
Yeah.
Like, anyway, so then he meets everyone. Continue.
And he was saying he has connections, just like some connections here and there, and he has set it up so they meet and perform for the Queen of fucking England.
Just some minor, Queen like some Victoria. He's done some networking in his day.
And then a good point to make, Zendaya's character is like, are we all invited?
Yeah.
And he was like, it's all or nothing.
Which...
Yep. Say it.
Here's the thing that bothers me.
Yep, say it. Say it.
So one, the way they play this scene is like, I keep just calling her Zendaya, is that Anne basically falls in love, or not falls in love, but like develops feelings for Carlisle because it's just like, oh, a not racist white man in New York in the 1800s. And it's just like, again, yeah, he did like the bare minimum. Like he wasn't,
and he's also hot.
Actively, he's also very attractive and very rich.
Which honestly, nice.
But I don't know. I think, and I don't know if this is just because I am a black woman, specifically a black woman who's had relationships with white men before, but it's just like, it really bothers me that they only show this love story from his perspective.
Yep.
Like, they only ever talk about...
The perspective of all of this is from the white men.
From the white... And again, I get that the movie is meant to be about P.T. Barnum,
but
it's like...
sometimes the white women.
Some very few. Yeah, very, very rarely.
2 songs.
And I think the thing that bothers me is that there's no... Like, they seemingly address the idea of, like, the racial tension, right? Like, the idea that, like, oh, like, there's going to be an issue because the two of them are interested in each other and want a date. Like, there's an issue with them going out on a date together. There's an issue with her potentially going to meet the queen and blah, blah, blah. And, like, you're touching on these topics, but, like, at no point do you even... There's not even a single scene that's, like, expressing her feelings about the situation or, like, what do her parents think about her being in this situation? Does she have parents? We don't know. Like, it just, I don't know. It just bothers me that we don't know literally anything about their characters.
What is the, do you know the exact year or, like, general decade that this movie takes place in?
I could not find it in, like, the plot description, but I think...
I'm assuming...
I would think around, like, 1850s, based on... 1840s or 50s, based on, like, when P.T. Barnum, like, started his career in, like, entertainment.
Okay.
And yeah.
Gotcha. I thought it would be, like, close to 1816. That's when Lincoln was elected.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, right. Yeah, so, like, that impacted some of P.T. Barnum's later career, but I don't think... I think earlier. The point in his career that this movie is set at would be in the 40s. Like, the 1840s. Okay. Yeah.
Gotcha.
If not 30s, because he started his career in, like, his 20s, and he was born in 1810.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, so this is well before, by a few decades, well before the Civil War.
Yeah. So they go to England. They see the Queen, and they're like, Charles, like, starts, like, roasting her, and I'm like, yes, drag her to the Queen, and she likes it. Queen... Excuse me.
Amazing.
Queen Victoria, played by Gail Rankin, who's also in Glow, a bunch of SVU episodes, the newest, like, Perry Mason stuff. Fun. Does a good job. Regal.
Yeah.
Another act that was invited, another person, is the famed opera singer, Jenny Lind.
Who's referred to as the Swedish Nightingale.
Yes. Who is played by Rebecca Ferguson, as we said, who's also been Dr. Sleep, The White Queen, Dune. She's been in the Mission Impossible franchise. Also, when she was, like, from Sweden, she worked at a dance company for a while, and she taught Argentinian tango, which I thought was fun.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, isn't that neat?
I love the Argentinian tango.
And then the singing voice, Lauren Allred, who was discovered by Neo and, like, really championed
interesting
by him. Like, he found her, like, off her like, YouTube, like, videos. She was in season 3 of The Voice on Adam Levine's team. And she made it to, like, the top 15. She made it to, like, the live rounds, which, like, takes a lot to get to that point. And in 2021, she was, like, listed as being, like, a part of the Andrea Bocelli tour.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And we get to, Voice of a Nightingale, Heart of an Angel. She gives to widows and children.
Which apparently, the actual woman, Jenny Lind, again, she was referred to as the Swedish Nightingale. She was a Swedish opera singer. And
was
apparently...
part of Barnum's.
Yeah,
Right.
and the money, so part of her, I guess, compensation when she was on tour with him was that he would give her money for her charities, and she like would donate to basically improving education, like building schools for Swedish children, which I thought was really cool.
I think that's cool too.
Yeah. Although why does she have a British accent? Like, I know why she has a British accent because it's Hollywood, but like, why does she have a British accent?
And also, okay, so then Barnum convinces her to like, have like one night only, a show in America. And he was like, why should I do this? And he said, for once, I want to give them something real. He has real people already.
Real people, but they're not people.
Zendaya did all her own stunts in this movie.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah, she's great.
The acrobat scene. Oh my gosh, amazing.
So great. Although she moved very quickly.
But yeah, and this is the thing.
She was like teleported. She did. I was just like, oh, it was like a little too fast. She became Spider-Man, which is funny.
And this is, I don't know, like it's at the same time within the context of like within the historical context of like this time and these people and this society and blah blah blah. It's like I understand, but it's just annoying to watch.
Yeah.
She is very talented though, but it does feel like I do remember like feeling that way. Sorry. I feel like I'm getting my thoughts mixed up.
I will never forgive you.
Wait, so we get into the song. Well, no, that's later on. Shoot.
Yeah, no.
Okay, so he says that he's never heard her sing before. Like he's never. Basically, he's just going off of Philip Carlyle's reputation. Yeah. Because basically, like, yeah, both of our reputations precede us, like, blah, blah, blah. But he's like, I want to get more into that world, and, like, I want to break into basically the socialite, like, social elite society. And you can help me do that. So she agrees to join his tour as a result.
And then they have, like, a one-night show for these people.
And
rich
she performs.
Fucks,
Yeah.
never enough. And then he's like, oh, God, I hope she can sing. And this dude sucks. Like, Philip asks us, like, oh, where should, like, the rest of the company join us? And it's just, like, your box? And he was like, no. My box is too visible. The acoustics are better, like, backstage or, like, in some dressing room or whatever.
Yeah, so he literally hides them away.
He sucks.
Also, the song Never Enough.
It's a good song. It was on, like, Billboard Top 100 for, like, a while.
Yeah.
I was expecting an opera performance, and I was disappointed I didn't get one.
And yeah, and see, I had the same issue because
I like opera.
When I was watching it,
and she can sing
when I was
opera.
watching it, I had this weird feeling because in my mind, on the one hand, it's like I've heard the song before and I like this song. But on the other hand, it doesn't fit with, like, the imagery. Like, the scene that is set with, like, her... She's in this beautiful cream gown. She's decked out with jewelry. She's on the stage with this pianist and, like, this full orchestra. And, like, she's
belted.
singing. Yeah, and, like, if you know that this is a scene in which an opera piece would be performed, like an aria or something like that. But, like, instead you get this sort of, like, poppy-esque song, and it's a good song,
yeah,
but it just doesn't feel like it fits.
And, like, it's like not
and you also kind of know that it's being lip sung,
yeah,
or lip
and
synced.
it's like at this point this not really a good scene when you'd rather watch Repo the Genetic Opera.
Oh, that's rude.
I mean, but she was so talented.
Yeah, it feels weird, and like
singer.
I kind of don't know.
Feels weird, man.
I don't know. We can talk about who the music is by later.
But it is a good song. It just doesn't feel like it fits. The music's too modern.
Which I think, like, and I don't know,
want it to be more campy.
And I think, like, with the other work that the musicians for this have done, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But it just, I don't know, none of the music felt like it fit, the era, which, like, it doesn't have to. You can use more modern music to portray stories from a different time period. But I feel like the music still has to feel like it fits the characters. And I think that's the thing. I think musical, some of the music doesn't feel like it fits the character singing it, specifically
the
lyrics
song. Do, but the music doesn't.
Yes, like Never the physical Enough arrangement
is
of the
literally
song.
P.T. Barnum's anthem.
Yes.
And he's like being so touched by it, like it's like she's singing to them. She like explains during this movie that like she came from nothing, and this is like how she was able to escape from that. And they like, you know, saw themselves in each other. And we also see this where Philip like makes a move, like holds Zendaya's hand.
Yeah.
Anne's hand. Let's just say a character's name, Campbell. And then he fucks it up because his parents see him.
Were those his parents? I thought they were just other like rich people.
I thought it was his parents. It might have been just other rich people. I don't know. Don't remember.
I'm not sure, honestly.
And then like when they're like she's singing and stuff, I'm just like, fuck, Phineas, I don't like you, but you better not cheat on your wife.
Okay, and here's the thing, is that, like, they never say that he does, but they also strongly imply it without implying it.
Yeah. I don't think he did, other than that stage kiss, but it's also interesting, this is one of the few times that we see, like, during the applause and stuff, P.T. Barnum does not hear it.
Applause. Yeah, they do this
it's always
common
muffled.
sound. Yeah, they do a sound effect where... this is like the second time it happened, because the first time I think was after... either during Greatest Showman or in Come Alive, when they were showing like his first performance. Yeah. His first big show. Yeah, I think in Come Alive. They did the same thing where like he's so focused on this imagery of like people cheering for him and applauding for him that it becomes all he's focused on. It becomes all he's thinking about, all he's like basically perceiving.
Cannot be satiated by this alone.
Yeah. Which I think is an interesting character theme to carry through the musical, and like they touch on in the song From Now On at the end. But yeah, so then we kind of time skip a bit, an indeterminate amount of time, which always bothers me in a movie when they don't tell you how much time has gone by. But we see that, okay, he's been doing shows and stuff like that. He hasn't been at the original theater, museum, whatever place in a while. So he's been gone a lot.
Confrontation with his in-laws.
Yes. So at the end, I'd skip past that. But
I just thought it was important for like the character and just how much he sucks.
Oh yeah, I got you.
That he was just like, his wife's like, don't embarrass us. So he's like, oh, I'm not going to embarrass yourself. You're proud of me now, not dad. Stop.
Yeah. So he
like the father-in-law is just like, I still think she's going to come home. And then he was fucking.
He's like, oh, I see that you haven't changed or grown as a person at all. But it's like, well, it's like you haven't either. But interesting. Yeah, so we see that it's been a while since he's like been back at the show.
We're skipping an entire song.
What are you talking about?
Because then afterwards, like, the rest of the company was like, oh, cool, let's have drinks. And they're like, no, you have a show, like, in an hour. And she was like, that's not a time skip. That's, like, right after the performance, I thought. The first performance with Jerry Lind. Because that's when she decides, Jenny Lind, that like, this is going to be a regular thing. And she makes a toast after he embarrasses himself in front of his in-laws. Mm-hmm. And then he, like, denies his company entry. He's like, you have a show to do. Don't come in here. And then that immediately gets into, this is me. Okay,
what happened was, I dissociate when This Is Me happens. And when I'm watching Keala Settle sing, I fully dissociate and begin merely experiencing, and I fully didn't even write down the song that it was happening.
Cool. I was just like, what are you doing? You done fucked up, Barnum. And the lyrics are like, we're not scared to be seen, no apologies. And I'm like, she should be in charge
high key
of this operation.
Yes.
The song is so good. Although the slow motion was weird.
Really? I actually liked it.
I thought it was weird.
I like a lot of the stylizing of these scenes. I feel like it gave that moment more impact. But yeah. I also do think it's a technique, like with the audio clipping, like I think it's also a technique that they use a lot in the movie. So I get that it can feel old.
I think it could have been done, like, I don't know, maybe I would have liked it more if it's like the song ended and then everything in slow motion and then she's just like taking it all in.
I can see that, yeah. But this song
a good song, great song,
fantastic. It's a song all about like self-acceptance and self-advocacy, really, about saying hey.
There's so many more protesters now.
Yes. But that's also the thing that bothers me, is that like they don't actually address that at all, or like how it's impacting them, or whether they're like actually getting hurt or injured. Because like there are times that we see them. The
perspective of this movie is from P.T. Barnum, and he ignores them.
Yes.
We're not going to have that focus.
But yeah, this song is like a full-on anthem, and like I don't know if you ever watched, like there was a lot of footage out on like YouTube and like other sites from the pre-production of this movie. So there's a period especially with musicals like this, where a lot of the music is actually written beforehand, so that the cast members can like learn the lyrics and rehearse the songs and everything before they come to actually film. So there's some footage from when the cast was performing the songs for some of the production, like high-level Disney team, to get the show greenlit, basically. And when they're performing this song, it's like the energy in the whole room is just like vibrant. You know, it's just like everyone singing along becomes this like whole community. Like I feel like this song really does create that. Like this is one of those songs that is so completely about learning to love yourself. And I think a lot of people of marginalized identities, but also just anyone who's ever felt othered, which I think is pretty much everybody. Like everyone strives for acceptance and for belonging. Like that's human nature. And I think this song just really encapsulates that feeling that a lot of us experience in our day-to-day lives, especially people with marginalized identities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another drink.
Drink. Numero tres.
Good job. Well, it's halftime, sports fans. I don't know why I said that. Anyway, it's Campbell from Boozicals. I'd like to tell you all about Mr. Holland's Opus Foundation. This foundation keeps music alive in schools by providing vital support services to school districts and new musical instruments to underfunded music programs nationwide, giving underrepresented youth access to the many benefits of music education, leading them to success in school, and inspiring creativity and expression through playing music. There have been over 34,000 donated instruments and over 2 million students impacted by this organization. Some of the support services they offer are professional development for music teachers led by certified instrument repair technicians, and further community engagement and instrument drives, just to name a few. Again, Raven and I believe the best way to support us as a podcast is to support organizations like Mr. Holland's Opus Foundation that supports music education and the passion of music in our youth. You can donate at mhopus.org/donate. Again, that's mhopus.org/donate. Back to our nonsense. Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay, so then we see, like, Barnum, like, kind of moves through, says that he's going to go on tour with Jenny. Mm-hmm. And Philip's like, what about us? And he, like, doesn't even say hi.
Doesn't even speak to them.
Yeah. He was like, couldn't even say hello. And Philip's like, well, he couldn't say goodbye either. He's leaving. And then they remind him, it's like, aren't you late for something? So Anne was told she has tickets to the theater, a ticket to the theater. But it was actually 2 tickets. Surprise
because he's
date.
Going with her. Which, did she think she was... What did she think was happening?
She was going to go to the theater by herself.
Which...
Pulled strings so that, like, ticket so that she could go to the theater.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
But the vibe that was given in the scene with the with the cast and everything was that this was going to be a date. Yeah. So
everyone else knew about it except for her.
That's my thing. Is like,
because she would have said no.
Did she didn't consent to this. That this is a date?
No, because, it was a surprise. He said,
just making sure we understand.
He said, I didn't tell you because I didn't think you'd come.
That's true. He does say that. Yeah.
Which makes me concerning. Confused why you're confused.
I guess my thing is like, why?
Do you not trick people to love you?
Not as a rule, no.
Interesting.
So they're going up the stairs to walk into the show, and they pass his parents, who are coming out for some reason. Which, like, this isn't like a movie theater like we have now. Like, if you were going to a play, you were going to the...
Sense. Doesn't make any sense.
So they're leaving, apparently.
And then they're just like, oh, let's be racist. And then she was like, you know what? Fuck this. And she leaves, and he's like, I hate you. You suck.
Okay.
I'm done with this.
And you know what? Okay, so I finally I've been trying to like figure this out for a while now. I finally put my finger on the reason why the nature of the story bothers me. Mm-hmm. Because it's more than just like... So yes, we are following a white cishet male protagonist, which, like, a lot of stories like that, that's not inherently a problem. We are seeing the world only from his perspective, which is a little bit of an issue because of the specific social issues going on at this time. But again, it's like, I can understand that. That's fine. But
he literally says to her later, why do you let them bother you? Like, why are you bothered by that?
Yes. But that gets to the thing that bothers me is that in this movie, anytime any of like the circus acts or like Anne or like her brother, like anytime anyone that has a marginalized identity in this movie is treated differently because of said marginalized identity in this movie, they act so shocked and offended. And it's like, yes, it's offensive behavior on the part of the other person, but it's like,
what world do you live in?
Like, Anne, there is no way she would be surprised by these people's reaction. Like, the way she acts here is like, oh my god, how could you say something so hurtful to me? And it's just like, that's not what her reaction would be.
I didn't take that as her reaction.
I took
it as like, of course. And she leaves. She's like, I'm not dealing with this.
I took a lot of her reactions and the reactions of the other cast in this movie as like oh, people are so mean to us. And it's just like...
Yeah. And the rest of the cast are just like, oh yeah, they're going to be together forever because nothing can stop what their love. What could? Nothing in society.
Yeah, everyone outside of them, like, is just so... Which, like, for his character, I can get it because...
Yeah. But for everyone else?
For everyone else, like, y'all
where there's, like, literally still slaves in America.
Also, it also confuses me because there are other black people in the cast that they don't... I mean, granted, they don't assign specific acts to a lot of the people in this, but, like, there are other black people in the cast that at least don't have an obvious reason for being there. Like, they're not dressed as, like, trapeze artists.
One woman just looks super cool and sings great.
So it's just like, oh, are black people just here because, like, they're here? Like,
are we just hanging out?
This is the mid-1800s. Like, the concept of a black person is no longer an oddity anymore. Like, this is not the 1600s, fam. Like... Black people are no longer odd for just, like, existing.
Well, to P.T. Barnum.
Who knows? Okay.
So then he follows her back to the museum and says, why do you let
them bother you so much? What the fuck is your problem?
And then we get to the song, Rewrite the Stars.
Which is a song...
still like what you were saying. This song is like, if we can rewrite the stars, make our own histories, we can be together, and that's everything's fixed. It's just like outside of their relationship in like this one instant, there's not an issue.
Yeah. And even the lyrics of the song, which again, I get that they're written to be a little more poppy and like accessible to a wider audience, but it really frames the issue as like, oh, we're just not meant to be together. And it's like, no, there were like severe and significant societal, like structural reasons that are like of why you as a couple are being discriminated against
to have the chance to be together. Also, she just yeets away.
She eats herself away, which I didn't think was possible.
She flies.
Okay, that first move when she's like first...
I'm not in this business. But I don't think, and I'm not a physicist, I don't think if you could just lift up a sandbag slightly from one pulley system, just be like, huh? And then it just flings you up. This isn't like a measuring tape physics, you know? It's not just like, yank, yank, are you going to pull me up yet? Inanimate object no force is being acted upon. And then also, she like goes like around. I'm just like, how are you going back?
Who is controlling these? Yeah, like trapeze performances like that take a lot of work.
Yeah.
And like crew members. Because
also Philip, you know he doesn't have the upper body strength for like his perspective to like being able to hold on to her.
But, like, the very first move when she's first going up in the air, how does that not dislocate your shoulder?
It's very Peter Pan.
Yes. But I do think, like, again, the editing of the scene is beautiful. Like, the cinematography of this scene is the shot when she's on, like, the ring and she's, like, floating down and, like, circling her legs is gorgeous. Like, it's beautiful visual effects, but like physics is also a thing that exists.
Yeah. And so this song is very much like we choose what our world is. We like should choose what our world is, but Anne at the very end says, "But I can't have you."
Yeah, we're bound to break and my hands are tied. And I don't know, like I think. How do you feel about? Well, we can talk about it at the end.
And then we cut back. Barnum's going to be going on tour.
Yeah, he's going on tour now.
And Charity's just like, I'm fine. Like, you keep on saying you're doing this for us. We're fine. We're more cool. than enough. We were fine in the apartment.
Yeah.
When will this be enough for you? You don't need everyone to love you. And then he like snaps back at her. Is like, you do not know where I come from, my position, my perspective on these kinds of things.
Which like,
in a sense, true.
It's not true. Like, that is fair. Like, yes, no one can truly understand what you're feeling unless you communicate it with them.
But it's not like she has not lived in squalor.
And it's also very dismissive. When she
married him and left...
It's very dismissive of her feelings and, like, her needs in this situation. Like, it's... Yes, you are correct that...
And the daughter's needs.
Yeah, like, we understand that you came from nothing and that you're doing this to try to, like, support your family and make sure that that your children never experience the level of poverty that you experience. And, like, I understand that. But at the same time, there's a point where, like, a line needs to be drawn between... I'm doing everything that I need to do to provide for my family, and I am actually meeting my family's emotional needs in addition to their physical needs. And, like, I think there was a long period of time, especially with just, like, the construct of masculinity within our society. I feel like we're getting very SJW this episode, but
I don't care. This
but, like, especially with the construct of masculinity within our society, like, people have emotional needs, and it's not enough to just say, like, I'm making sure that there's food on your table and clothes on your back and a roof over your head, because at the end of the day, you're still my dad, or you're still my husband. Like,
especially to someone who's been nothing but supportive. When they were in a position, like, for, like, almost a decade.
You are financially stable.
No, when they were financially unstable, she was just like, I'm happy. we'll get this through this together. We got this. And then he's just like, you don't know what it's like to not have any money. It's like,
bruh,
they lived together with children for a while, not having any money.
And she was coming from an aristocratic background.
Yeah, so and she was just like, I'm happy.
Yeah, so that this drop for her, bro, it's just...
So then we get into so he leaves with his children crying, screaming
literally
after him.
Screaming and running
and
after his carriage.
Nothing.
Bro.
And then we get into the song Tightrope. Great song.
I think from a video editing standpoint, this is the best scene in the movie. In terms of like stylization and the way, oh my gosh, the way they I don't think it's juxtaposition. I think it's
there's differences.
Yeah, but there's another word that's similar to juxtaposition that also refers to symbolizing or demonstrating things side by side. But I can't
contrasting.
No, it's I can't remember.
A literary thing.
Yeah, it's another rhetorical device, but I can't remember what it's called.
But you and your figurative language.
Every time in the song that she's singing with you, the imagery that's being portrayed is of him specifically not being there. So like they do this really good thing in this movie of kind of merging, and I talked this a little before, but sort of merging the reality and the fantasy, which is a hard thing to do in live action musicals especially. But here it's very clear that these images are all happening in her head, and like she's imagining herself like dancing with her husband and like spending time together like as a family and all this stuff.
They were a team.
And, like,
everything was done together.
Yeah, and we're seeing the imagery now of him being gone and missing his daughter's ballet recitals, of, you know, she's dancing around the house and like wanting him to be there, and he's instead off on tour with Jenny. You know what I mean? And I think the way that they use both the music and the cinematography to display like her emotional state is just spot on in the scene.
Yeah, and the song is just really good.
It's really, and her voice is beautiful. Yeah,
this is what I wanted from this musical. It felt very like Tightrope. It felt very circus themed. It felt a part of the musical,
and it felt on theme.
Yeah.
Like,
a bitch loves a theme.
A bitch loves a theme. Yeah, so then we go back straight away to Jenny and Phineas.
Oh yeah, we see like the back and forth also throughout the song. Like, it's like, oh, so much applause, like it's going really well from them, but then it's the growing tensions back at home. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at this point, they like the protesters getting worse. And they were like, did you see Mr. Bennett gave us a good review? At this point, I was like, is he the only critic? They've been touring the country. What the fuck? Doesn't make any sense.
He's the only critic. Yeah, and so we see Jenny and... And this is the scene where it's just like, so did you sleep together?
It would make Jenny's actions
make way more sense.
Realistic.
Yes.
Because I don't think they did, though.
Yeah, because her words and her actions, like, make sense if it's like, oh, we've been sleeping together, you've told me, like, you love me and you're leaving your wife for me and blah, 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 and now you're going back on that. And, like, that makes her storyline make sense. But if it's just like, no, we've just been doing a tour together and you fell in love with me.
Yeah, like, you fell in love with me, which is, like, honestly, not his fault.
Yeah, that's not his fault, yeah.
It's not his emotional burden to carry, and it's very much, it just, like, makes her such a stupid character. It, like, takes away a lot from her character. It's just like, oh, we relate to each other, so I thought we'd fall in love. I know I've met your family, I know your wife, I know your history, I know all this stuff. Nothing's ever happened. We never talked about anything happened. But when I, like, you know, ask about it or, like, pursue this once and you say no for, you know, justified,
very good reasons.
Valid, good reasons, you're like, oh, I'm going to ruin everything for you and for myself.
Yeah. It just doesn't...
That doesn't feel sense. like that it just doesn't seem like someone who said she came from nothing, she had to work hard, that she would she just is throwing this away from a mediocre white dude that's just bigoted. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
This movie feels to me like there were a lot of deleted scenes. Because it honestly feels like there's holes in the story. Like, it feels like there was a scene missing where we saw it, we understood a clear dynamic between them. And it doesn't have to be a literal sex scene, but we literally went from, oh, you think she's talented, so you want her to be a part of the show, to she is crying and distraught because you won't leave your wife for her? Like, it's just it's so confusing how the relationship develops and what it is at this point.
Yeah, and she's like, am I just another one of your little acts? What the fuck?
You are literally an act. We have a contract. You are my employee.
So we get to a reprise of Never Be Enough, and she's like crying, and it's like everyone's just like, oh, this wasn't the best. It still sounds really good. So
it's still
I don't know
beautiful.
what to tell you. Still sounded great. And then she was like, it seems like we both lost then. And then they're taking pictures and stuff. He comes from bow. She kisses him.
Yep.
Publicity
just in time
stunt.
for the pictures.
And she says, that was goodbye. Which, now what I don't understand, in addition to everything else, he leaves. He finds out that she quits and is surprised by it. Didn't she tell him right then and there, it's over?
Yeah.
What?
This movie doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
So then we go back to the main, Barnum's Theater or whatever. And we see that they're doing a show. And there's a fight that breaks out at the end of the show.
Yeah, so that at the end of the show, the protesters are in there and they're like, "Go get out of our town," and they're like, "No, I'm not going to do that." And then they say some racist shit, and Zac Efron throws a punch. Yep. And then they start. So it's Zac Efron.
No, it's not. It's not Zac Efron's character. It's Anne's brother.
Oh no, I thought Philip fights first and WD backs him up.
I perceived as WD through the first punch, but you might be right. But also, okay, this is another thing in the scene that didn't make sense to me, because I didn't understand why WD. I saw it as him starting the fight. I didn't understand why, because there's a lot of them. A lot of the protesters, I guess, that are there.
But also, there are a bunch of, drunk fools, and these are, basically trained dancers, athletes. Mm-hmm. Dog Boy can take half of them. And we see Letty scream, "Charge!" comically, and they're just getting out, you know what, all their aggression off these fuckers. And I'm like, Honestly, you could kill them.
But here's the thing that gets me. They're doing, real fighting moves. Not oh, you're dancers, so you're nimble and stuff like that. But,
a lot of them have lived on the streets, though, and they've been outcast. They've had to, fight for themselves. They've had to, really work.
Okay, but there's a difference between...
Charles straight up should have brought his gun. He has a couple.
Oh, that's true. He does have a couple of pistols.
No.
Big facts. Yeah, so then that turns into a fight scene.
Get one of the lions.
That turns into a fight scene, and then they end up burning down the theater, which apparently the theater burned down a couple times. That was an actual thing that happened.
And then Barnum comes back to the station. The family sees him. He's just like, "Why are you back so early?" He's just like, "I missed you." Fucking lied. There was so many pictures taken. You don't think anyone's going to find out?
Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah, that was sketch.
Hears that the fire is happening. He runs. Anne apparently is like, "Oh, it's still in there." So
yes,
Philip runs in after him. Anne wasn't in the fire.
No, we see Anne then run out from the side and run how WD, and then Hugh Jackman or PT runs in. It's I have to save Philip. Barnum. Then. Part Barnum runs in to save Philip. Yeah.
And honestly, I thought they died. And then I was like,
it would make sense because the
sense.
entire building collapsed in on itself. But
and like when they felt like they did burn the set down.
oh wait, what?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's neat.
And so
I had the note, if this was an animated movie, those elephants would have been helping putting out the fire.
yes,
Was a thought I had.
yes, because they can't help themselves.
No.
But yeah, and so then we see Philip ends up in the hospital, and we see Anne is at this point she's not holding his hand, but we see that she's like sitting next to him and singing, and we get a reprise of Rewrite the Stars. And this is the moment that I wrote down that this movie does not earn any of its emotional payoffs. Because
wait, say that again. Where are we?
In the Rewrite the Stars reprise when she's visiting him in the hospital after the theater burning.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that happens. But also, like, A Million Dreams is in the background playing. Wait, are you talking about when he's waking up?
No. This is
okay. I got confused.
Yeah. This is a.
Oh yeah.
Well, actually, wait. Does he wake up in this scene?
No. It's at the
Because
very.
there's two scenes. There's one where she's just visiting him, and we get the reprise. And there's another later on where he actually wakes up.
Sorry, I didn't write down there was a reprise here. My apologies.
Oh, you're good.
I have like the elephants would help if it was animated, and then A Million Dreams in the background when he's like sitting there during the day on the rubble of his stuff.
Oh yeah, I heard that as well. In the background, like the little piano.
Yeah, and then like Mr. Bennett comes up to him.
Yeah.
With a flask.
Because of course, I guess. We don't know anything about this character who's apparently the only critic in this
friends
country.
now. Another critic may have called it a celebration of humanity. Then why didn't you, piece of shit? Like, what the... Like
this movie
was that a redeeming thing? It was
sense.
like, you know what? I sympathize with Mr. Bennett actually was a good guy all along. No!
I
called everyone a bunch of freaks, and they're like, incited riots. And now that things are burned down and people got hurt, he was like, you know what? Another guy might have said, what you're doing here is pretty good. Not I, said the frog. You want some liquor? It's 9 a.m. Like, what kind of resolution is that?
Again, this movie doesn't earn its emotional payoffs. I don't know.
Oh, and then this is the point when he's talking to Mr. Bennett. It's just like, oh, you know what? We should be able to rebuild, take some money, some profits from Jenny. He's like, oh, haven't you heard? She quits. And you're on the paper making out with her. And he's like, what?
Oh, yeah. And it's like, what did you think, one, the point of her kissing you while you, like, during the photo op was? Two, did you really think no one would see that? Did you think no one would print that photo of you?
Highly publicized event.
Like, what? Phineas,
that you literally a spotlight's on you while you kiss.
Literally a whole spotlight.
You're like, a world famous singer, and you are a notable man yourself. That's well known to be married to someone. And
so then he runs home. And the thing I really like about the scene, so he gets home and Charity is leaving because obviously,
I'm going home.
And I really like
evicted.
I really like that the visuals of this scene directly parallel when they were children. So she's wearing this like vivid like blue dress, and he's like covered in like soot from the fire, which like when they were kids, and he was just like dirty because he was poor, I guess. And poor people are dirty and gross, in case you didn't know, Campbell.
Wow.
And she was wearing the blue dress.
True colors coming out here on the pod. Wow, can't believe you said that.
I'm problematic.
I'm not like other girls. I'm quirky.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so she is leaving and taking her children because she's like, you know what? I'm done. Which, like, good for her. And
also, it sucks that her dad was right.
Yeah, that's something that made me really upset. is that, like, she just wanted to love this man and
And
build
like
one of the
things she didn't know, that he took out a loan to like live in this house, and they're being evicted, and she was like, "You didn't even ask me. You know I would have said yes, but at that if you did ask, we would have. It would just be us doing things together, like I thought we did. Mm-hmm. You know I would have said yes."
Yeah, and that's
the point. He started making things about him.
Yeah, because he's so caught up in like, and
the rat race.
It's even the idea of like, I have to do this for my family. It's like, but your family is actively telling you that like they don't want you doing this. No. Like your family is telling you what they need.
If it's, hey, don't do this for me, and then the person does it for you, and it's like, why are you reacting like this? I'm being sweet. I'm being nice.
No, you're not, because you're actively going against my wishes.
You're not doing it for me. You're doing it for you.
Yeah, and that's been him for this entire journey.
Manipulative. Sucks.
And so then he ends up back at the bar that I guess was popular. So like I think this is like it's the same bar from the other side, and I think the implication here is that like this became a regular bar for them. Yeah.
Charles, don't walk on the bar top. That's not necessary.
People's drinks go on that and like food and stuff. Man. That's dirty.
And they're just like, shut up, Barnum. Don't be down on yourself. You gave us a family, a home. You did no wrong.
and so when we get to the end of the first bit of the song.
From now on.
Yeah, when he sings, if all is lost, there's more I gained because it led me back to you. And when he sings that line, he's going down the line of like photos that are hung up at the bar. And he gets to one of him with his family, and he sings that line to the photo. Which to me, especially given that the entire cast, and like the acts and stuff were all in the bar, is saying like, y'all don't matter. I'm not doing this for you. I've never done this for you. I don't give a fuck about you. I'm only doing this for my wife and children. Which like, on the one hand, it's like, yes, it's good that you are thinking about your family, and it's good that you want to support them and give them everything, and like blah,
but you're
blah, blah.
still
But at the same
exploiting
time,
people.
You were still ignoring all of these people and exploiting them. And
who
like,
gave you this opportunity and the ability to provide for your family.
And this is why I say Phineas literally doesn't have a character arc, because right here he's doing the exact same thing that he was doing at the beginning of the story. At the beginning of the story, he was like, I need to do this for my wife and children so that they can have an amazing world, an amazing life, like blah, blah, blah. And now you're back here, you're at your lowest point. Well, not your lowest, but you're at basically your lowest point. And you're still just doing this, like supposedly doing this for them. But it's like, but that wasn't the point.
I would have loved to see this movie in the perspective of Letty.
Yes.
We would see Barnum on the side. And then they're like, and we'd come back home, because home is like the people you make it, blah, 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 blah. Great, yes. I love that they have like a, community.
Yeah.
Here's the part that I feel kind of bad about. During this song, I was like, okay, so this is the finale. Okay, nothing's going to be left. Completely forgot about Philip in the hospital.
Oh yeah, because I feel like the movie.
And so he's like, we go back to the hospital. I was just like, oh yeah, this is a thing. Is a thought I had. A major plot point. Mm-hmm. And so he wakes up and they kiss, and then everyone like in the hospital unit is just like gasp, because it's the 1800s. And then he like gets better real quick, and he like goes to like talk to Phineas. Mm-hmm. And he was like, hey, what did the bank say? The bank said no. Okay. Well, Philip's like, you brought joy into my life. These this community, these people.
Again,
I do
like,
care about them.
You're so amazing. You're fantastic.
You're the reason you saved each and every one of us. Even me, this down on his luck rich white boy. Like, it's like, what the fuck is this? But Philip put aside his 10% because he's wealthy and has the ability to do that. Income wasn't a problem.
Yeah,
it was a side gig, so he can offer his money as collateral as long as we're 50-50, buddy. And they're like, I have an idea. Buildings are expensive. Let's be on the
Let's
docks.
use tents instead.
Intense. Like the circus. Or
And I think, okay. So also a thing that bothers me with the treatment of the people that are like the acts for this show. It really, and I talked earlier about like the whole like white savior complex, but it really, this whole movie gives the vibe that like we are lost without you. Like during the scene where they're like, oh, like he hasn't been around and like blah blah blah, like there's a line that Zac Efron's character has where he's talking about like, oh, the people want to see you, like they want to see you here and your acts and your ideas and blah blah blah. And it's just like, he's the ringleader. Like, he's not even performing the
When
acts.
it was just him, no one wanted to see it. So
no one
that's objectively
wrong.
wrong.
But like the second he's gone, y'all can't carry on. And like during
they were like,
the
Circus
scene,
Daddy, please help us. Like, it's
and
stupid.
And like during this scene, they're just
and
like,
we
need you.
Daddy.
Like, you need to be here to do this and blah blah. And it's just like, y'all really can't survive without this white man.
And then we get into a reprise of The Greatest Show, and then, you know what? Well, first, don't ride elephants. But also, it was just like, PT was like, you know what, Philip? Everyone, you had it in you all along. So now I'm the wise person in this situation. You be the ringleader. Here's a hat. And he, like, joins them. And honestly, way better situation. He's like, what are you going to do? I'm going to spend time with my family. Like, he's the hero or some shit. So instead, it's, hey, I'm nothing without you. Y'all are, like, everyone's, like, giving him praise. He was like, no, I have a lesson. Instead, I'm going to have 50% of this and not participate. That's his character arc.
Yeah. He gets worse.
It gets worse. He's just like, you know what? I'm going to put in less effort. They're like, we don't know what to do when you're not here. And he's like, actually, you do. And they're like, wait, you're right. Here's half of our business. Like, this sucks so bad. And he's like, what we do? Watch my girls grow up. And then he leaves to the ballet riding an elephant. Don't ride elephants.
Yeah.
My guy.
And I will say something that I like, again, the music is great. So one of the things I like from the music standpoint, during the scene where he's sitting and watching his daughters perform, we get a small reprise of The Greatest Show, specifically the line, it's everything you ever want, it's everything you ever need, and it's here right in front of you. And it's just like the little the melodic refrain played on the piano. And it's like, symbolically, in theory, I like that.
Yeah.
But again,
that's not about
like,
the business. It's about, it's like, we were happy with my family.
It's about your family and your loved ones.
It's about your family. Fast and the Furious. It's about family.
Which, like, in theory, I like,
yes.
but again,
the concept is good.
Movie, what is the message that you're really sending here? Because I think also with Letty and the whole cast and everything, like, I think they were very much trying to build the implication of like, oh, they created their own family. They found their own family within this group, which is very much a thing that happens and that deserves to be celebrated. But you didn't show that. You just said that it happened.
If it was like Letty and Philip, they're like, you know what? Like, they're like, the hat should be with us. And if then he's like, you know what? You're right. I should watch my girls grow up. That is a better ending.
Yeah.
That is growth. That's development. But it's still just like, you know what? I'm handing this down to you, but only half of it.
And I can't decide whether the movie is brilliant or stupid.
I mean,
because only because on the one hand, it's like, it's very honest about Phineas's character. Like, I feel like the movie, on the one hand, like him being the protagonist, I feel like you get the feeling that the movie, that you're supposed to like him root for him and stuff like that. Like, he is painted as a really good person. But also, like, I feel like an easy thing to do would have been when he makes decisions to change the business or to step down or do any of that stuff. Like, again, like you were saying, have it led by the members of the cast, by the members of the show group. But it's always like, oh, my daughter said I should do this, so I'm going to do this. Or my daughter needs more money to play ballet, so I'm going to, like, do this. But it's never, this is what is best for the people around me.
None of his ideas are his own.
Oh, no.
Not a single one.
And yet they need his ideas for the show to be successful.
Yes.
Which seems counterintuitive.
So his other daughter's a tree, and then we're at the end.
Yeah.
That's what I got.
And my very last note is this movie makes my brain hurt.
My last note is lol, she's a tree.
Okay. So let's talk about this a little bit.
Yeah. Give me the good stuff.
So
give me the Beat Boys and free my soul.
I do indeed want to get lost in that rock and roll.
And drift away. Uncle Cracker.
Okay, so there's two groups that are credited as doing the music for this movie. So the actual soundtrack, as in the physical songs that make up the soundtrack, are done by Pasek and Paul. So they are a songwriting duo and composing team, Binge Pasek and Justin Paul, and their collective name is Pasek and Paul. And apparently, like, they do a lot of their work together to the point that they have like a joint Wikipedia page. And the only picture of them is like a picture of the two of them together. It's like low key cute.
That is sweet.
But
if we ever had a Wikipedia page, I wouldn't want one without you, Raven.
Aw, I would.
Yeah.
They're a songwriting duo and composing team. So Paul is the primary composer. Pasek does the majority of the lyrics. And together, so they've written songs for La La Land. They wrote City of Stars and the Audition song. Which
great songs.
Fantastic songs. And they won a Golden Globe and an Academy Award for Best Original Song for City of Stars. They also wrote the song Speechless from the newest live-action Aladdin. They also wrote Dear Evan Hansen and James and the Giant Peach, like the musical version. But yeah, so they started working together as freshmen at the University of Michigan, which is where like they were both getting the Bachelor of Arts degrees in musical theater. And so while they were doing that, they both got like background roles in the school's like musical theater production, which got them like, they ended up like working together to write a series of songs that turned into a show, which was called Edges. And that was like the first work that they did together. And so, yeah, since then they've worked on La La Land, Dear Evan Hansen, The Greatest Showman, A Christmas Story, which is like A Christmas Story, the musical. That was the musical version of it.
Was that
Dog
the version
Fight
with Maya
and
Rudolph?
Musical version of James and the Giant Peach. And I believe so.
Okay. You don't have to look it up, it's fine.
Okay. But yeah, so they, that's all of them. They've done a lot of different works. They've gotten nominated and won a lot of awards. The vast majority of their awards that they've won are for Dear Evan Hansen, which won Grammy, Tony Awards, as well as like a variety of other awards like the Charles MacArthur Award, etc. They've also won a lot of awards for La La Land, again, City of Stars, and Audition, as well as This Is Me. They won Best Original Song or Best Song in multiple categories for This Is Me, and were nominated for a number of awards for that as well. So also on at least the Greatest Showman like movie Wikipedia page, it shows that in the music by category, it cites John Debney and Joseph Trapanese. So I'm not entirely sure. What I'm thinking happened is that Pasek and Paul wrote just the songs for The Greatest Showman, because that's specifically what they're credited with. And then I think the actual score of the film was done by Debney and Trapanese.
Oh, okay.
Which like is not, as far as I could see, isn't explicitly stated anywhere other than the fact that they're listed as the music by. But I do have a few notes on them. So John Debney is a composer and conductor who works in film, TV, and video game scores. And fun fact, he's actually the son of a Disney Studios producer, Louis Debney. So he actually grew up like around Disney and basically like being on the sets and everything like that. And so he's collaborated with the Walt Disney Company for a long time. He's written music for a lot of their films, TV series, and even like their theme parks as well. So he's worked on, like, he did Jetsons, the movie. He did Hocus Pocus. He did like
Jetsons, the movie. Great music.
I don't know if I've seen it, but I will take your word for it. He also did Liar Liar, I Knew What You Did Last Summer, My Favorite Martian, Inspector Gadget, The Adventures of Elmo and Grouchland. I don't know if you remember that.
I do. Also, don't you love all the Elmo memes? Rocco can go fuck himself. The Rock.
I do not know all of the memes, I guess, then.
Raven, mistake. I'm going to send you so many videos.
Sounds good. But yeah, he's done a lot of stuff. He did The Scorpion King. He did Princess Diaries. He did Spy Kids. He did... Do you remember See Spot Run?
Of course I do.
He did the music for that. So basically John Debney has done the music for a lot of movies that we probably watched as kids that, like, it wouldn't occur to you to be like, oh, who did the score for this? Oh, this dude who did the score for all of them, because he's amazing. And then there's also Joseph Trapanese, who's a composer, arranger, and producer. So he works in film, TV, records, theater, concerts, and interactive media. He does a bunch of stuff. And he is really, really cool. So he collabed with Daft Punk on the soundtrack for Tron Legacy. He also arranged the string sections for Dr. Dre's third album, Compton, and conducted the orchestra and did the arrangements for the film Straight Outta Compton, which he won a Black Reel Award for. He also arranged for Kelly Clarkson on Piece by Piece and Wrapped in Red. So the orchestra backing and Wrapped in Red, he was conducting during that song, during the movie and
That's
everything.
incredible.
Or the music video. Yeah. So he's also worked on Transformers movies, the Divergent series. Again, he did Straight Outta Compton. He did Robin Hood, Lady and the Tramp, Finding Ohana. He's done a lot of movies. So yeah, both, like, and I think they worked on the actual score of the films, like the music that's in the scenes outside of the physical songs. Yeah, and just a great job. So again, like, the music of this movie is fantastic.
Some of it.
Yes. The story writing is...
It's bad. You can say... Raven, you can
bad.
say...
Well, I feel like, I don't know, it feels weird to me to make
it's
a judgment
not, okay,
like
that, that's being very, we're being very objective.
I am not a screenwriter. Like,
it wasn't for
I've
me.
Never written,
I don't like it.
Yeah.
It didn't make sense to me. I didn't get it.
I felt like there were a lot of holes in the story. Like, I think...
There's so many.
My thing is, Phineas 1 didn't have a character arc. That's just... You can say that's my opinion, and it is, but, like, I don't think he had a tangible character arc. But also... It just felt like there were a lot of holes in the story. Like, there were things that were happening that it was like, in theory, I can understand the events that would have led to this, but none of those were shown in the actual movie, so I don't know that they happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fiend.
Nice.
So, Campbell,
Raven.
what are we playing today?
So, I shall be playing the clarinet, and you'll be playing the cello, and we're going to be playing an arrangement of Boop-a-doo, Tightrope.
Yes. I love Tightrope. I'm excited.
Too. That's why I picked it. From your options. So, we're going to finish our drinks, get our instruments together, and do something.
Do something.
Do something.
Hey everyone, in addition to our other nonprofit partners, I would like to do a quick plug for the Daddario Foundation. The Daddario Foundation is a nonprofit grant-making organization that provides monetary and product support to high-quality music instruction programs on the front line to improve access to music education. And every single cent raised goes directly to getting kids involved in community music programs, acquiring and maintaining instruments, providing college scholarships, and supporting new innovations in music education across 41 U.S. states and 189 cities. They accept monetary donations, of course, but also instruments. So if you have an old instrument that you no longer use, please consider donating it to the Daddario Foundation, where they can get it into the hands of a student in need. However you're able to contribute, you can go to dadariafoundation.org/about/donate. That is Daddario Foundation, DADDARIO, foundation.org/about/donate. Now please enjoy the sultry sounds of me and Campbell destroying music.
Let's stop. We got off.
Yeah.
I think we should start at 43.
Okay, my intonation got real bad.
No comment. I think we should start at 43. but tempo wise, you're doing well.
Am I? Okay, I felt like I was rushing.
Oh no, I do you feel like you're rushing or that the music just has some movement?
I guess
it's a waltz. So
yeah.
You're
I felt like I was moving quickly.
Do you feel like you're rushing or that you're ahead of the beat? Those are two very different things. You know what I mean?
Yes. I think maybe just that I'm ahead of the beat, but I'm not accustomed to it. Yeah. I'm usually either behind or rushing. There's never been an in-between for me.
Start at 43?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, 43, baby. Are you going to give 2 bars or 4 bars? Just decide right now.
Do you just want 2?
It's up to you. I'm fine with either. I just want you to let me know instead of me trying to guess if you're going to keep on counting. You know? It's something I should have asked 30 episodes ago.
I'll do 2 measures of counting.
Of 3-4. Cool.
Of 3-4, yes. Yeah. I don't like.
You did 3-4 this time. And you were great. You were doing great
on my counting style, Campbell.
And I was just complimenting your ability to keep tempo this time. So I need to balance it out. Apparently I can't.
1, 2.
Yeah, I'm with you. Okay, cool, great, love it.
1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3.
And that's where we were going to stop originally. I think that was good.
Yes, you're correct. I can't hear you for some reason when we're playing, but you sounded good when we were practicing, so I assume you sounded
I'll play
good.
For you right now.
Cool. That sounded really good.
Thank you. I'm in a good mood tonight, Raven. We started off a little rocky, and I'm really like where we're at. You know what Do you know what it was?
What?
We needed to get on the same page. And how do we get on the same page? Hating this fucking musical. And alcohol. And now we're like, you know?
True.
But together.
I'm really glad that you orchestrated this, or I guess instrumentated.
I went back and forth. I was like, do I want to play the bassoon or the clarinet for this? And if I played bassoon, you would play the violin. But for some reason, for this song, I felt like the melody should have been a woodwind instead of a string instrument.
And you know what?
I think it was the hollowness from the background.
And Michelle Williams' voice has a very it has that clear quality that mimics a woodwind.
It cuts.
Exactly.
It's crisp.
Exactly. Yes. So I think the clarinet was the perfect instrument to represent.
And I also felt like the cello would have been back because string instruments, especially the low notes, there's such a beautiful hollowness. And I think
also,
that's very reminiscent.
The song is backed by strings as well.
Oh yeah, but I think that hollowness is very apropos to how she's feeling, in her environment.
Agreed.
I never say apropos. I wasn't confident I used it right. Anyway, we're going to start 2 measures on the last page. 2.
Measure 60.
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3.
Yeah. I think we should start at 92 and then go till we crash and burn.
Okay. When we were playing, I think it was, where was it? Measure 84, 85. my bow got caught under the desk, and so I think I missed like a measure and a half because I like couldn't move my bow.
That's funny.
All right, so we're starting at 92.
Yep. You have the A. And the D sharp.
Wait, that's a... Oh, treble clef. Yep, okay. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3.
We did it.
I think my A was flat, but we done did it.
We done did it. We done did the thing. Stop and share. How'd you feel? Was that fun? I thought it was fun.
I liked your part.
I think, again, this is, we do this over Zoom. If we just, had all our instruments together and we were in person, it would be more fun. But
yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah, no, I think you made the right call doing clarinet for the main melody of Tightrope. Like, it's definitely, I don't know, it's a sound that I think just really fits.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So, Raven, scale
so
1 to 10, how would you rate that?
Oh my gosh. So the max I can go is like 5, right?
That's generous to me. And the more we talked about it, the lower I was thinking in my head.
I don't know. I felt like I was almost being too harsh on the movie, but I think that's also because, like, again, I love the soundtrack. I think I'm gonna go like a 4. Definitely below the middle. And I think that's more upon like reflection. I think the first time I watched that I was like, oh, it's okay. But especially rewatching it, I'm like, nah. But the soundtrack is really, really good, and I think the cinematography of the movie is beautiful. The visual effects are fantastic. Sometimes, like the scenery is really, really good, and the music is amazing. So I'll give it a 4. It just could use story, plot, cause and effect, character development, basic understanding of the social implications of the actions being taken by the main characters of the story, and then it can be good.
See, I'm going to take those into account. And, like, it just seems like wasted potential.
Yes, because there's so much talent in this movie. It hurts to see almost.
And so I think I'm going to give it a 2.
Oh, damn. No, you've given a 1 before.
Oh, yeah, High School Musical 2.
That's right.
Gotta go my own way. It's the only redeeming factor of that movie. The only one. Reverse character development, the movie. It was terrible. It was so bad. I was so upset. Yeah. So I think I'd give it a 2.
Yeah. Campbell. Mm-hmm. Where can you find us?
Oh, what a great question. You can find us wherever podcasts are found. That be, Apple products like Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Podbean. Literally, I know, we subscribe to anywhere you can listen to podcasts. And if you listen to us, which you are right now, so that's a weird way to say it. But if you want to support us other than trying to support our philanthropic endeavors, the easiest way to support us is rating, or reviewing us on any of those platforms. You can, like us. Spotify now, you can actually give us a rating with stars, and that would be super great, because if you do that,
that would be fantastic.
And you rate us high, then more people can see us with their stupid little algorithms and stuff, and then the more we can spread our mission to raise money for our music education. And
Campbell, you can't insult the algorithm like that.
I did, so fuck it. Yeah, you interrupted me, and I was doing such a good job, and I never do.
You're doing
that.
Fantastic.
And
You're welcome.
So do that thing. And if you if you didn't like the episode, if you want to rate us negatively, you do what you want. But if there's
if you didn't like the episode, you're a bad human being.
No, I was going to say, but if there's reasons why you didn't, let us know. You can email us at boozicals@gmail.com. So that's boozicals@gmail.com. Or DM us at Instagram. Our Instagram is at Boozicals. Again, Boozicals. I like to Photoshop fun pictures. I've been crushing it recently. I've actually gotten like 5 different DMs like this past week about like suggestions, liking stuff, and that's a lot for us. So yeah, that's where you can reach us and you can find us. Raven, it's okay to say this was not great. I feel like you're really hesitant to, because you're like you're a kind, the music is polite so person. Good. But like, if the music was taken away, it wouldn't change the movie.
Which is the hallmark of a bad musical.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
So long.
Farewell.
To you, my friends. Oh, we went different songs. Fuck, we gotta end this.